Hello, everyone. I want to welcome you to this WomenHeart Live. I'm Selena Gore, and I am the CEO of WomenHeart. For those of you who are not familiar, WomenHeart is a national patient-centered organization that provides support, education, and advocacy for women specifically living with or at risk of heart disease. And in fact, we're the only organization that is solely dedicated to this work of focusing on women with heart disease. We're here today, just a few days before Mother's Day, to have a conversation about heart health across the generations. You know, there's a lot that we know about our health that is linked to where we come from, and that includes our culture, our traditions and our family, what our lifestyle was when we were kids and how we grew up, our habits around what we ate, and how much we moved and exercised. All of these factors are really so often influenced by our families and often by our mothers specifically. And for so many women, we pass down these traditions and these values and these behaviors and these habits down to our kids. And we add to that a history of various types of illnesses in our family, as well as our genetics, which we know can play a really big role in our own health, and in particular our heart health. So when it comes to heart disease, it's really, really important for us to understand our risk factors as it relates to our families, both what we can control, like diet and exercise, and those factors that we cannot control, like our family history and genetics. So I thought it'd be a really great place for us to start talking about this in terms of what factors come into play with our family members. So I'm really pleased to welcome our guest today, our fantastic WomenHeart champion, Joanne Burgett, her daughter, Jana Simpson, and her granddaughter, Elena Simpson. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
And happy Mother's Day. I'm really excited to have this conversation. It's been a long time in coming. We have been planning this for a long, long time.
Yes,
I'm
we have.
so happy that we finally get to have the conversation, because it feels to me like your story, the story that the three of you share, is really a story of growth and change across three generations. And that it seems like with each generation, you've had an ever increasing awareness of how to live a heart healthy life. So I'm so excited to dive into it. So let's start with the beginning, and let's start with Joe. You have been a dear champion for 20 years. I've known you for a good number of those years. And I know that you were 50 years old when you had a heart attack. And at the time, Jenna, you were in your early 20s and as a new mom. So can we go even further back though, before the heart attack, to when Jana and her siblings were young? Joe, did you raise your kids to be heart healthy or conscious of what a healthy lifestyle looked like? And did you pass that on to your kids?
Unfortunately, during that time period, I was a single mom raising them by myself without a lot of financial support. So, it wasn't conducive for me to be able to go to a grocery store and shop healthy. I had to shop thrifty. So, at that time, I think I could get 5 boxes of Kraft macaroni and cheese for $1. So, that's the kind of diet that we had. It was so not healthy by any stretch. When I lived at home, of course, I had, the 3 squares a day with the veg and all of that, but unfortunately, not when my kids were little. So we were really not even in that lane, I guess is the best way.
It reminds me, Joe, of when I was growing up, my mom was a coupon cutter. And she would turn those five for $1 deals into 7 for $1 deals. So yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. It also feels really typical to I'm sure many people who are listening can relate to the story. And I really loved how you put it. You didn't prioritize health because you had to prioritize thrift. And that's probably true for many families around the country, even today.
Mhm.
So let's move on. Your kids grow up, and now you're 50 years old. You've had a great success of being a single mom to 4 kids. And at 50, you have a heart attack. So I want to ask Jana, can you talk a little bit about what that was like for you to experience, to watch your mom go through such an incredibly difficult health issue, and what it's been like for you as a daughter to watch her journey for these last 20 years?
Yeah, it was really shocking. Like, it was very upsetting and shocking. I didn't realize she had any health concerns. It was just like the hearing she was going in to get a procedure to get her heart checked out, and then it just came up so quick, and we didn't know she had those issues. And then to know that, like, when she went under for her procedure, that she ended up having to be brought back to life because of the heart attack, and it was very it was very surreal, but we didn't know that. So it was a lot of educating and learning about heart disease. And then my family and I we really didn't, we had a grandfather who died on my dad's side of heart disease, but not directly, that was grandpa, and he passed before when we were young. But now it was like a parent who we were learning about what she had to go through and how her new way of living and living and eating, and a lot of just educating ourselves. So very sudden. And it was like 50 years old. You don't think that's coming, being a woman. So it was a lot, but I just remember trying to be there for it. It was very emotional. And yeah.
It's interesting you said that, and she was a woman, right? Because I think that there's this idea out there that women don't get heart attacks, right? This is a man's disease. And especially at 50, that's quite a young age anyway. But for a woman at 50 to have a heart attack, that seems like you said, like nowhere on your radar.
Right.
You talked a lot about learning about what she had to change or what she had to go through. So did any of that influence, Jenna, the way you kind of looked at your own life and the way you ate and the way you exercised or did these things?
Yeah, it made me more aware of, like, in the long run, like, what am I putting into my body, and just thinking more about what I was eating. And then knowing, like, now this is my mom, and I also had heart disease from my dad's side because my grandfather and my great uncle passed of a heart attack as well. So now knowing, it was like, now I have it on both sides. So it got me thinking, like, what are the health foods? Like, when you go to the store and you see on it, like, heart healthy, or, I started to, like, see those things that really got my attention. And so I would think, oh, that's good to eat now, like the different foods that are good for your heart and keep it healthy and all that stuff. So it definitely woke me up to that, like, what is good for heart health and in general, like taking care of our bodies.
I love what you said. Like you all of a sudden started to see it, where it was there the day before, but we weren't looking out for it. Right. So I find that really interesting too. And how did that impact? That's for Jana. Oh,
it cut out for a minute, but was it like, how did it affect how I raised my kids?
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. It did get me thinking, like, I'll be honest, I'm a mom of 4, is like my mom. And I, pretty funny, I have 3 boys and a girl, like she had also. And so I'm on the go, busy, it would make me think, like, oh, I got to get the vegetables in, like 3 to 4 vegetables a day, or maybe it's 3 to 5, but, trying to, like, get in the fruits and the vegetables. But yet it's tough with being a busy mom, but I would try and, like, put those things into their diet, where I'm not perfect. I definitely also, the part about, like, budget, it's hard because it's more money to eat healthy, but it's, trying to be better about, like, the choices that you make, and getting, like, I know particular stores that you can get the better deals, and just looking for that way to be able. So it really affected, like, I want my kids to grow up making good choices. Like I said, I haven't always been good about it, especially the busy sports seasons, but really trying to be more conscious of what they're taking in, and then being a good example of what I'm eating, and they're watching,
Yeah.
Not like, oh, the kids, you have to eat this, and then I'm going to eat the food I want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jenna, I had a cardiologist say to me, look, don't beat yourself up. As long as you're doing it 80% of the time, that's your goal. 100% is not the goal, because you'll drive yourself trying to get that goal.
Yeah, and then you just want to give up, and you're like, well, I can't do it.
Yeah, so I really like 80%. It strikes me that that's a good goal. Joe, you wanted to say something?
Oh, I was just going to say that also they made sure that their children, and all four of their kids are very active in sports, and so that was another goal that she was able to do and reach that I didn't have the blessing to do that. I worked 2 jobs, and I was not always present to be able to get them in those places where they needed to go to get those sports activities. So they're fantastic. Her 4 kids are far healthier than my 4 kids were. Well, they were healthy too, but this girl, she's our North Star. I think I told you that already.
You did.
She's a mentor.
We haven't even talked about exercise, so I'm glad you brought that in, Joe. And it's a good segue to Elena. Can you talk, Elena, about how you were raised and when it came to being heart healthy? I mean, clearly we've learned, right? Exercise and being fit and being active was a really big part, it sounds like, of the values of your family and your siblings. But how else would you characterize your upbringing?
Oh, well, I mean, I was raised obviously seeing my grandma and my mom a lot, and they're both like really strong female. And obviously my grandma loves WomenHeart, so I always saw that. And I just saw so many places in my life where I was able to get healthier food based on like what my grandma taught my mom and what my mom learned through my grandma's experience.
Yeah.
And overall from this, like I was put in sports at a young age and like taught how exercise can not only help your mental health and your physical health, but I was also shown that what we do really affects our lives. And my grandma's experience is something that I want to continue, like with that legacy and keeping my heart healthy. And yeah, overall, there was just so many places in my life where these people directly, my mom and grandma, directly and indirectly made me healthy. So very grateful for them.
You brought up, I love how you guys really play off of each other. You brought up mental health, and I want to just like probe with that a little bit, because I read something the other day that really drove that point home, that heart disease makes us at a higher risk for mental health issues, and mental health issues puts us at higher risk for heart issues. So talk a little bit about how you see the sports that you play, and really this focus on heart healthy living to help your mental health.
Well, there's a lot of ways. So I do a lot of research too. And I know that when you exercise, there are good hormones that are released. And then you're also living a healthier life biochemically. Your cells work better. Your brain works better. There's a lot of things behind that as well. But you're also putting yourself in a good environment where you're focusing on growing yourself and bettering your future as well. And like our children to come, as our generations continue, we can continue in this path of focusing on what can make us better and what can give us a better life. And I think that kind of mindset, as it links to mental health, is huge, because we're focusing on how can we improve our life every day by exercising, by eating, by talking about these things with the people we love. And I think that's like the biggest thing, where it ties in so many different ways.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, Joe, you must be so proud.
I am. How could I not be? One of the things that I watched when I watched them grow, and then I grow too, they're actually much better influences on me than I probably was on them, because I like sugar and I like junk food and all of that. So I knew that chain had to be broken somewhere. Yeah. And Jana has started that process, and Elena has the two of them are mentors to me as much as I should mentor them. And Elena won't allow me to eat 3 bowls of ice cream for breakfast anymore, which is, now she's home from college, she's going to keep a close eye on me. You might see some pounds fall off.
I love it. I love this multi-directional mentoring in parenting and guiding. That's so wonderful. Let's go back for a second, Joe, to how you raised your kids, because you said that it didn't seem like you don't want to make it seem like something was like wrong, or there was anything wrong about how it was. But we know our society. I mean, when we talk about like mac and cheese, Kraft mac and cheese back in the day, I remember our special treat at home was Happy Meals from McDonald's. And honestly, I don't remember that being a conversation. Like, no one said like, don't eat McDonald's, it's not healthy. I mean, we say that today, but I don't recall those conversations back then. So I feel like we need to give ourselves a bit of a break. But it is hard, right? Because I mean, single mom, 4 kids, a lot of stress. Health insurance was a challenge, right? Raising your kids in a safe community. I mean, all of these things that I'm sure moms are thinking about all the time, every day, all day long. So if you put yourself in the shoes of a single mom today who is, facing the same challenges with limited resources, with not a lot of time, what advice, Joe, might you give them?
Well, first of all, would be not to blame themselves, because you're limited by so many things that are out of your control. I worked 2 jobs in order to help feed them and clothe them and all those other things. But we were happy together, the 5 of us, the 4 kids and me. I mean, we had a great time together. I think probably I'm not as strict as maybe some moms. So I had a lot of fun with them. And, it's just because I love them so much. They just mean the world to me. So to a mom, I would say, just take deep breaths. When you need that strength, just go in a corner. I mean, I learned that if I needed to scream, and I mean that, feral scream of just, they sometimes saw me have to do that, but they were my partners in. So that's what we were. We were just a little village, the 5 of us.
Love it.
And now we're a big village.
Yeah, that's awesome. So 5 became how many? How big is your family now with your kids and your grandkids?
As we speak, I have 14 grandchildren, but I'm adding a grandson. And then next year I'll be adding another granddaughter, because Elena's getting married in July. And then Leslie, her older brother's getting married next year. So and then who knows, because what happens when people get married, they somehow do it. So I don't have any greats right now that I know of, but I don't think, but they need to finish their journey through their education and stuff before they start bringing babies in,
Absolutely. So as I mentioned before, and we've talked about throughout this whole conversation, which I'm loving, lifestyle plays a critical role, and so does family history. We're always telling and encouraging women to learn about their family's heart history. And I'm going to go back to Jana and Elena, and knowing what you know about your mom and your grandmother and her heart disease experience. I'm wondering how you would now today characterize how her heart disease journey has impacted you, not only in terms of the choices you're making, but how you talk to your doctors, and how you engage like your health and your health care. So either one of you can start, Jana or Elena.
You could start.
Okay, I can start. So I work in healthcare, and I'm going to continue my profession throughout my life. And I think both directly and indirectly, my grandma's experience as a woman having a heart attack has definitely led me into this field and shown me like the place that women need to have, or even just people who care about people need to have as an advocate for others. So having my grandma she could have been my patient, like in a different world. That's somebody's grandma, that's somebody that somebody cares about. So to just listen to the patient and to give people love no matter what, because like if my grandma was somebody else's patient, I would want them to treat her with the most respect and get her what she deserves. So I think that's definitely impacted me in my career. And then also as a person, obviously knowing about my family's history with heart disease is important, because when I'm at the doctor, I need to be an advocate for myself as well. So definitely has played a role in who I am as a person today.
Great. How about you, Jana?
So I am a teacher, and so a part of what I do, I work with high schoolers at a career technical school. And so for me, I mean, one of the things I think of is my personality and my experience is that to treasure every day and to think about like that momentary satisfaction of like the ice cream and the, you know, the more the food, like the more
The carnal.
the carbs and it's good. You can have that in moderation, but like the immediate satisfaction is like thinking about in the long term of like the days you can have if you just take better care of yourself now. And then realizing that if you want like just the value of life and how short it is and wanting to make it as long, and then the quality of your life, like, you know, it's, yes, the years, I mean, that's absolutely, but just taking it and be able to have that quality. And Elena will actually, as she educates us, because she knows a lot in the medical profession, you know, is about like the effect that the food has, like all of, I mean, things I didn't even think about that she teaches me, and the effect that food can have on your body. And so even like, you know, your tiredness and your like your mental health, like we said, the depression and stuff, like how food can relate so much. So I would say kind of 2 points is that my mom's heart disease has taught me like the value, like valuing life, wanting it to be take good care of my life now so that I can have a longer, more quality life in the future, and just value that the life we have.
Wow, that is so well said. And Jenna, you know, you bring up, I have this fantasy of like having a watch that when, anytime you do anything, whether that's like to go for a run or to eat ice cream or to eat broccoli, that the watch tells you how many minutes it adds to your life or how many minutes it takes away from your life, depending on what it is that you do. Because I think you're right. Like, we never make that link, right? Because we have this immediate gratification. We don't make the link to what happens at the end of our life or how it shortens our lives. Since it's coming up to Mother's Day, I'm going to ask a special request. And I'm going to ask it of Elena and Jana. I want Elena and Jana to think about your one wish for your mom. So Elena, what's your one wish for Jana? And then Jana, what is one wish for Joe? And we're going to share that.
I'd say one wish for my mom is that she just knows that no matter what she does, that it's always going to be like enough, and it's so appreciated. Because even if we didn't always have the healthiest dinners and everything, like we're here because of her and my grandma and their lives that they've laid down for us, and that their selflessness has gone so long, and it'll live long beyond them. So,
Oh, thank you, Elena.
yeah.
And I would say, I am so grateful for my mom's fight in her and her strength, an example of courage and strength, because she's gone through a lot and she's had like to fight through a lot of things. And I just am so grateful for that example to our family that you've been. And seriously, like that, just, I mean, there's so many things I could go on, but the main thing is like her strength and her courage and her love. I got to add that too. She just gives so much love to us, and that is huge, and it's been passed on and will continue. And so I'm just so grateful for her and love her so much. And in this example of, you know, being a part of WomenHeart and being able to the things she's gained that she passes on to us through everything she learns going to the conferences and the amazing women she's met. There's so many ways it's affected her, and then it's trickled down into our lives as well. So
I can't think of a more perfect way to celebrate Mother's Day with the three of you. Happy Mother's Day. Thank you so much for being so open and honest with this conversation today. I feel like we traveled so many different parts of our lives and your lives. And I want the three of you to serve as a really wonderful and excellent example for others to encourage them to take some time out to have these conversations with their families about their heart health, about the health of their moms and their grandmothers and other family members around them, and to understand that this is really important to have in your toolbox when you speak to your providers, when you speak to your clinicians. It can motivate change, small or big, and we heard about so many that you've shared with us today. It can lead to a more healthy lifestyle. It can lead to a dedicated career in the health field. But it can also mean that what your doctor is helping you with will be meaningful for you and personalized for you. We often talk about knowing your numbers, whether that's cholesterol or blood pressure, knowing, what your daily activity level is, knowing how much salt you take in your diet. Ultimately, though, this is about being together and having conversations and supporting each other and being open. And it's absolutely not about being perfect. And I just love how the three of you show up for each other and support each other. I mean, you're really an inspiration as a family unit, and I couldn't be more happy to get to spend some time with you today. So thank you so much.
Can I tell you something? When she was 5, she made me promise that I would live to be 105, because she wanted her grandchildren to know how funny I am. And I said, I'll be sitting in a rocking chair somewhere, and you'll have to poke me with a stick and remind me who I am. But I'll come around. She just wants them to know who I am. It was so sweet, and so I always carry that around with me. And I think, yeah, well, I better get busy if I'm going to live that long, because I made her a promise that.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. So
it's true. It's one of the first things that I notice about Jo is how funny she is. It's it's always a highlight of my day when I get to spend some time with Jo. But thanks for sharing that. I love that. I love how she was like, you need to live to 105 because.
Promise me you won't, you got to stick around. Yeah.
Promise me. Well, I don't know that I've met a woman who's survived a heart attack who has as much joy de vivre, as they say, as Jo Burgett. So I'm so honored to know you. So pleased to get to meet Elena and Jana alongside you. And again, have a happy Mother's Day on Sunday.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And hopefully we can have a conversation like this again next year. So thanks.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you for having us on.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.